Okay, so we're back to Mishlei, and this is 24, pesukim 13 and 14, which clearly go together. Echol b'ni dvash kitov v'nofes mato al chikecha kein de'e chochmah lenafshecha imatzasa v'ish acharis v'tikvaska lo tikares. I think the comma goes there. Let me just make sure that this is correct here. Yeah, and then after tov. Oh, interesting. Okay, so, and then after tov. Okay, yeah. So, translation.
My son.
Yeah, eat honey, my son. Kitov. For it is good. The no face matok al chikacha. No face is a honeycomb. Yeah, and I have to mention this anytime I say this. How many of you have had honey from a honeycomb? It is a different kind of sweet. My grandfather was a beekeeper, and the only way I could describe it is it's like electric sweet. It's like a different level. Like so if you ever have the opportunity to try it, it's good. Okay, the no face matok al chikacha, and a honeycomb, yeah, matok al chikacha, sweet on your palate. I think palate, whatever, tongue is fine. Yeah. Kain de'ein chochmah lenafshecha imatzasa v'ish acharis. So too
is wisdom.
De'e chochmah. No wisdom. Lenafshecha. For your soul. Imatzasa. If you found it. Okay. V'ish acharis.
There's another.
And not acher. And there is an end. Okay, this is where it gets a little vague sounding. V'tikvasacha lo tikares.
And your hope will not cease.
And your hope will not be cut off. Yeah. Okay, very strange. All right, here we can pass that to Sean. Or one of them. Okay, so yeah, so what do we have here in our minimalist mefarshim here? Metzudas Tzion says nofis is inyan hazala unatifa kama benofis tufim chikacha is miloshen chayf. Okay, fine. So that's just our translation. So Sadigon says, okay, Sadigon does a little weird thing, I think. Let me just type this out as we go. I don't even know if I'm going to be able to get this. Kumo sha'ata b'ni ochel esa devash mipnei shu tov. Just like you, my son, eat honey because it is good. V'hanofis mipnei shu matok b'chikacha, and honeycomb because it is sweet to your palate. Kach, so too, da es ha-chochmah, know the wisdom, kihi l'nafshecha, because it is for your soul. That might be a typo on my part. Where's yours? Where's the side you going there say? I forgot to open mine. Mishlei 24 first. Yeah, okay, so that's a typo on my part. Hold on a second.
Both Matzata.
Oh, both. Wait, I just have to see this with my own eyes just to register it. Hold on, sorry about that. Forgot to open this beforehand. Yudalad. Okay. There we go. Im matzasa osa, matzasa es ha'achris. Okay, I get it. Im matzasa osa, matzasa es ha'achris. You can tell I typed this right when I got off the plane. Okay, because it is for your soul. If you have, I think there should be a semicolon here. Because it's for your soul, or maybe not. Yeah, I think so. If you have found it, you have found the end. The tikvaska l'tikares, and your hope will not be cut off. Okay, so he just kind of like smooths it out a little bit and gives it more of a syntactic structure. Yeah.
Just as far as the translation, in the millisecond line, we have so to know the wisdom because it is for your soul.
Yeah.
Are you able to translate that or have an understanding of that as being because it is
good
for your soul?
Because it's what?
Because it is that what we just said for your soul.
Yeah, it is like that. I'm gonna actually just say I think it's actually safe to say it is good for your soul, and then the implication is that it's good in the same way. It is good for your soul.
Okay, and I was asking insofar particularly like whatever we had just said for the prior thing, as it is for your tongue, that it would be for your soul.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. But I think it's smoother to say it is good for your soul in the same way, as opposed to just saying it is that for your soul. Like that just sounds weird.
That what you said about
Yeah.
You gotta put the little carrot.
Yeah, carrot. Never heard it referred to like that before. Okay, I think this is pretty much a straight up translation. Bri echol dufsha metul detav. So my son, eat honey because it is good. V'chavrisa, which I looked up, means no face. Dechayla al chikach, that drips on your tongue. Hechna ischakam b'nafshach d'in mashkachas kadmesa. That was the thing I did not succeed in finding. If you have found kadmesa, so kadmesa, Jastrow says it is kadmesa. Where is it? Kadmesa is like kadmai, and kadmai means like before or first or previous. So I'm not exactly sure how to translate this. Kadmesa asya achrisa. Imash kachas kadmesa. If you find it first, asya achrisa, then the end will come, something like that. The tavamina, an end will come that is better than it. The sikuyach lo nigmar. Okay, yeah, so that actually is different. So if you, I'm just gonna say 14 here. So, so too, become wise for your soul. De'in mashkachas kadmesa, because if you find it first, asya achrisa de tavamine, an end will come, which is better than it. V'sikuyach lo nigmar, and your hope will not end. Nigmar, I think, is not be completed. Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's go with the English guys here. Art School. Eat honey, my child, for it is good, and drippings of the honeycomb are sweet on your palate. So is knowledge of wisdom to your soul, if you have found it, for it has a lasting outcome and your hope will not be cut off. Okay, so they had the word lasting, which I think is fine. In fact, I'm just going to say a lasting. Actually, I'm not going to say that. We'll just keep it in mind. Okay. Living Nach says, eat honey, my son, for it is good. Its drops are sweet to your palate. Such is the knowledge of wisdom for your soul. If you find it, there is a future. So they're using achris just to mean like something in the end, but in the future, and your hope will not be dashed. Okay. Alter says, eat honey, my son, for it is good, and honeycomb sweet on your palate. Thus, know wisdom for yourself. If you find it, there's a future, and your hope will not be cut off. So your yourself is a valid translation, because atzmacha and nafshcha both can mean self. But I think I feel like the word soul is intentional there. The implication is that honey is for your senses or your body, and Chochmah is for your soul. So I think I'm going to keep soul here. Okay. Questions? Yeah, Yaakov.
Why is it using Lashon Tiva to tell us to eat honey?
Yeah, okay, right. So that's a good way to say it. Why is it using a Lashon Sivui to tell us to eat honey? And I assume your question is because like you don't need to be commanded to eat honey, right? That's like telling a kid eat candy, right?
Is that actually a good thing to do?
Okay, right. That's my big question here. Okay, let me just say. Wait, hold on. This that's like telling a baby to eat candy. I know that's not the right metaphor. Okay, and then so yeah, my big question here is why is Chochmah being compared to honey if honey isn't the healthiest food, right? Now, obviously it's comparing in terms of pleasure, but like, I feel like you could find stuff that is pleasurable, but like not unhealthy. And in fact, I think there is another pasuk in Mishlei, now that I'm thinking about it. Let me just look up the word dvash. I think it does use it in the other way. You know what I'm thinking of? I don't know if this is a famous pasuk or not. I don't even know if it's a pasuk. Hold on just a second, Yeshua. Let's let the search engine go. Okay. Tanakh, Ksuvim, Mishlei. Yeah, Davash, this is 25:16. Davash matzasa echol dayaka pentis ba'ena b'hakeso. When you find honey, eat the right amount, lest you be satiated and vomit it up. Okay, right. So that's the That would seem to suggest that like honey, too much honey could be bad. The next one also. Achol dvash harbos lo tov. Yeah, eating too much honey could be bad. There you go. V'cheker kavodam kavod. And that's weird. And the investigation of kavodam kavod, of their kavod is kavod. So I feel like that's probably connected to the one before. I have to say an anecdote here just to give you the imagery. I might have said this anecdote before, but whenever I think of overindulgence in this way, I think of an instance when I think I was in 6th grade, and I went to a Halloween party at my elementary school. Okay, like one does, and I walk out of the school, and there's this little kid who must have been like maybe in 3rd grade, and he's standing here like this, and then suddenly he just vomits, and then he says, "I ate too much Halloween candy." And that was his so whenever I encounter this pasuk, or whenever I encounter overindulgence and pleasure being like having a direct result, I think I ate too much Halloween candy. And I think he was dressed like a skeleton, but I think I might also be mixing it up with the YouTube video of the I like turtles, or I love turtles, no, okay, two before your time. Yeah. Okay, fine. Okay, anyway, so yeah, to me I think this is the biggest question on the pasuk. Okay, Yoshua.
Why do you need honey as well as honeycomb?
Okay,
is there like something different?
Right. So, what, if anything, is being added with honey and honeycomb drippings? Yeah, Ariel.
So, what? Like, I guess, what's the analogy?
Yeah.
Especially to your point about like you should eat too much honey.
Yeah. What is the nimshal?
Like what?
What is the mashal nimshal?
And also like, and if you found that there's an end to what?
Okay. Yeah.
If it's chochmah, there's no end to chochmah. Like,
okay. Yeah.
What does that mean?
So what does it mean? What is meant by v'yesh acharis? And in what sense? Yeah, David?
Is there anything to the eating honey and then just having the honeycomb on your palate?
Yeah, I'll add that to this. Similarly, is there a difference between eating and dripping on the palate? Yeah, Yoshua?
What is the hope at the end of the pasuk talking about? Like
Right.
that it will won't be cut off.
Yeah, what is the tikva that won't be cut off? Yeah, Isaac?
That was my question.
Okay. Yeah, go. Yeah.
Why is
Your hope got cut off. Yeah.
using these verbs of eat and know? You could have just said just like honey is sweet, so too chochmah is good for your soul.
Yeah.
You're saying eat honey and know chochmah.
Okay, that's also good. In fact, I'm gonna actually convert this into its own question and say, actually no, hold on. I feel like a lot of these could be just subsumed under the nimshal. Yeah, let's just do this. Why eat? No, it could just compare the substances without the verbs. Yeah. Yeah, Ariel?
All right, I have a couple definition questions.
Yeah.
One, like what is the soul here? Two, well,
Oops.
what do we mean by soul? And two, what does hope mean here?
Okay. So what is?
Oh, you said already
yeah.
asked that.
Yeah.
So then what's the hope for?
This context. Okay, yeah. Hope for what? Yeah, Isaac.
What does it mean? What does dea chochmah mean? Or sorry, dea chochmah.
Yeah.
As opposed to other verbs, or like acquiring chochmah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what? Oops. Did not mean to do that. What is dea chochmah telling you to do? By the way, in case anyone has not already made this association, this is the basis of the verse in Dror Yikra the last stanza. So I always think of this. I don't know the idea of this, but I always think of this whenever I read that. Yeah.
Yeah. I was thinking, especially because in the first pasuk, it's about like consuming honey.
Yeah.
And the Chochmah sounds like, sounds less like, consuming Chochmah, like learning
Right.
it.
Yeah. When you eat honey, it goes away. But when you know Chochmah, like it just like, whatever happens, the Chochmah's still there and you just get it in your mind. Yeah.
What does it mean to know Chochmah versus have Chochmah?
Yeah, I think that was what Isaac was asking. What is it? Yeah. Why no? Or what is implied by no? What is implied by no as opposed to the other verbs it could have used? In fact, I want to use the word verbiage because I don't think I use that much. Yeah.
Why imatzata?
Yeah, that's very weird. Okay. Why im matzasa, right? Like it's like it seems not necessary because you can't do it if you don't find it. So you have to have found it. So like, what is it like? What does this qualification add or change?
Especially because you don't have to like find anything with honey. You just put it on your tongue and it's great.
Oh, actually, that's interesting because maybe I don't know what the normal honey encounter was in the olden days. I do feel like in the movies, it's like the guy's going along and he sees the honeycomb on the tree, and so I don't know, but so like maybe it's trying to like evoke that sort of like you stumble upon like a honeycomb, as opposed to like going to the store and getting honey. But so that could be an answer. But yeah. I also want to add this question, which is, and for on your hope won't be cut off. And what is the hava amina, right? Or let's say, what is the alternative? I don't even know if it's the hava amina or hava amina, like, i.e., why would your hope be cut off? Yeah. By the way, also, this is not a question. This is more, in fact, it might be a clue, but I just want to highlight it. This is clearly intentionally using kares language, soul cut off, right? So like, what's with the kares vibes? Maybe this is a question.
What's with the kares vibe?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually direct.
What was it?
What's with the kares vibe?
Yeah. What's up with the kares vibe? Yeah, because like, with honey, if you don't find the honey or you don't eat the honey, then the only result is you're just lacking honey. Here, it's like it has menacing, threatening vibes. Like if you eat this, then you'll have an achris and your hope will not be cut off. And the implication is if you don't eat this, then you will not have an achris and your hope will be cut off. In fact, let's put that as a question here, which is it doesn't seem to match. The nimshal seems to add an element which isn't present in the mashal, right? If you decide not to eat the honey, then you're just lacking honey. But if you pass up the chochmah, then you won't have an achris and your hope will be cut off, right? So like if it said something like, eat bread because it sustains you, so then that would transfer over where like, if you don't eat bread, you're going to starve to death, So like it seems to mix mashal in there. Okay, I feel, I guess we should also ask our usual question here.
Who's the audience?
Yeah, who is the audience implied by Beni, right? Because Beni does not, ordinarily I'd be tempted to say that this applies to all people, right? But the fact that this is phrased as a father-son pasuk, which it's been long enough that I think we need to review. Were there other father-son pesukim recently? I don't think so. The end of 23, I think, is where it had the whole father-son thing, right? Beni started in, was it that far back? I don't, was it? No. I think definitely here though. Where is it? Oh yeah, it told the father to not withhold musr, and then it gave the musr to the son. So starting with 23:15, you have the b'ni. Oh look, oh. I was like, it sounded familiar, but I didn't think it sounded familiar because we did it. So this is in 23:17 and 18. Do not let your heart be jealous of sinners, but only in yiras Hashem all day. Because if there is an end, and your hope will not be cut off. I guess none of us remembered that. I mean, that was a long time ago, but okay, fine. And then it goes on, and I'm just trying to see if it officially stops with the achariso, another acharis reference here. Okay, I think this is 23 still is continuing the advice to the son, and then beginning of 24 seems to still be readable as advice to the son. And I mean, it's not explicitly advice to the son, but I suppose you could read it as a continuation that all of this is advice to the son. Yeah, Isaac.
I have a thought. And my connection is going to go very soon.
Okay, sure.
Okay, so maybe it is intentionally breaking the metaphor, because it's saying not only is it sweet like honey, but normally with honey it's like it's a bad thing to eat too much.
Yeah.
But it's saying it's sweet, but like later on, instead of your stomach hurting, it's going to feel really good.
Okay. Yeah. It's like the ultimate honey, right? Is that it's the most sweet tasting food, and you can't have. That's a bad way to say it. I was gonna say you can't have too much of it, which means like I was referencing like there's this expression like too much of a good thing. You can't have too much of a good.
Yeah.
There's
no such thing as too much.
Yeah, there's no such thing as too much, right? Yeah. Okay, that's a good thought. Yeah.
I don't know if this is like what Isaac's saying.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe the way he framed it in terms of breaking them out.
Yeah.
Because I think I'm just gonna say what I was thinking. So basically, like I think that like we eating too much honey is bad for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But imagine a world where you could eat a lot of honey.
Yeah.
And you'll just keep on eating it.
Yeah. Right.
And it's really good for you. And you won't throw up.
Yeah, I think that's what Isaac's saying. I think, and so I think just to
breaking the metaphor.
No. So just to phrase it in a different way that doesn't lead to that is that it's like he's luring you in with a metaphor, and then like here's the thing. You know what the metaphor is? The metaphor is not honey; it's the fantasy version of honey.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Like the actual honey is going to make you throw up, and it's going to be harmful to you. But the version of honey in your fantasies, this actually matches the fantasy in the sense that you can have it, it's enjoyable, and there's no such thing as too much.
So I have like a half-baked idea.
Okay.
I just can't explain from the operate.
Okay. Yeah.
But maybe you could say like in terms of so too, like if you do have like this idea of having honey and it won't make you sick.
Yeah.
So like I think it has to actively tell the son like, look, like this is I don't have to tell you this for honey.
Yeah.
But this you should know this for
oh, that's interesting. Okay.
Because let's be honest, like no one's gonna actively go learn Torah. We'll actively play video games or watch movies, but like Torah is like there is like a certain barrier, or Chochmah, there's a certain barrier, or there's something that for some reason we don't actively engage in.
Right.
We need to be pushed. And
okay.
told.
So you're saying that's part of the mashal. So this is, I mean, okay.
But learning it is not the same as actually knowing what the Chochmah can do for you and what the impact is for your soul.
Right. Meaning the experience. There's really two components of the nimshal here, right? There's the experience of the Chochmah, which you need to be told to engage in.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to naturally do it. And then there's the benefits of the Chochmah, which you're also not going to know, and you're also not even going to know from the experience, because the experience is a metaphysical reality, not an experiential reality.
Yeah, and that's something that you have to actively find and engage.
Yeah, right. So just to comment on this I don't want to say that this is a unique mashal, because I feel like if we actually understood Mishlei's mashalim, we would realize every mashal is like this. But like this mashal is not just a. Okay, let me go back for 1 second. Okay, there's a classical mistake that that people make, and hold on just 1 second. I'm going to pause for one word. The mistake is to treat a mashal as just a like encoded idea, and then you decode it, and then you throw away the husk, right? But if you look at the way Sadigon talks about mashalim in the Hakdama and the Mishlei, which we've read many times, or if you look at the one person I know who does this very well is Rabbi Trachman in Shir Shirim, is the emotional resonance is actually essential for getting the idea in the right way. So it's not enough to just decode the mashal and extract the idea from it and then know the idea. You have to put yourself in the emotional framework of engaging on a mashal level, and then from there get to the nimshal level. So what that means here is this is a kid who already loves honey, okay? And he also knows that if he eats too much, then he's going to throw up, right? So now his dad tells him, eat honey. And he's like, what? And then from that place of fantasizing about eating honey, but then having this reservation of I can't eat too much, then he's being pivoted to but there is a type of honey-like thing where you can eat as much as you want and it's going to be good for you. The mashal is taking you through there's a chronological journey in the mashal. There's not a static idea that you just decode and A equals B and X equals Y.
And I'm going to attempt to answer the Akra.
Sure.
But maybe how everything else in the world, there is no objective end to getting more money, getting more fame, whatever. There's always more and more. But I don't know if you can say that for Torah, because you could always get more Torah, but maybe the ultimate end is olam.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No. Okay. So let me clarify one thing also, which is that, and I don't know 100%, but I don't think acharis means end like it's endless. We say, right? I don't think it means like that. I think it means it does come from the word achar, right? After, meaning it means there is an eventuality or there is something that is going to come after. So, and I think this is talking about olam haba. I mean, I think it's I was saying with the Karis vibes,
So I mean, there is an objective purpose for learning Torah, and there is a goal, which is olam haba, maybe.
Okay, I wouldn't. So I let me differentiate from that also. I have not seen the word acharis used for the type of end I was saying of a limit, and I also have not seen it used for a goal. So I think it means that's another. I like Art Scroll's thing. There is a lasting end. I have something to add to that. Do you want? Okay, so just to flesh this out a little bit, just because I was going over this yesterday. Who was I going over this with? Oh yeah. So this I think fits in really well with the Rambam's explanation of Olam Haba, which I'm going to summarize with Menachem Kellner's book. Did you believe anything? So this is just a one paragraph summary of how the Rambam views Olam Haba. According to Maimonides' theory of the intellect, humans are born with a potential to learn, which they may or may not actualize, and it is this capability and its actualization in which their humanity lies. In slightly more formal terms, we are born with the capacity to know. To the extent that we actualize that capacity by learning truth, we become actual intellects. We have acquired our intellects. If we fail to actualize our intellects, that capacity with which we are born is wasted and nothing survives the death of our bodies. It is important to note here that on the theory of the acquired intellect, the only way to achieve immortality, what Jews call earning a portion in the world's come, is through actually acquiring an intellect by perfecting ourselves intellectually. There is simply no other mechanism available to Maimonides on his own understanding of the nature of human beings. Now that's in contrast to, let's say, other models of Olam Haba, which view it as a reward, right? This is what we mean when we say that, according to the Rambam, Olam Haba is a natural result, and the mashalim that Chazal give are very good because they're Chazal, which is if you prepare food on Erev Shabbos, you'll have what to eat on Shabbos, or if you prepare food when you're on the Yabasha, you'll have food when you're on the at sea, when you're at the Yam. Okay, so those two mashalim, I don't know what the difference is between them, but they both convey this idea. If you, set up a cholent on Erev Shabbos and then you eat it on Shabbos day, you wouldn't say, I am being rewarded, no, it's just the natural result. And so too, the punishment is not a punishment. It's just you did not adequately prepare, same thing with a sea voyage. So I think this fits in really well because I think a lot of people also think of kares as an artificially imposed punishment. But according to the Rambam, kares is really you have not sufficiently endowed your soul with reality, with lasting existence, because you've attached it to fundamentally false ideas, or you haven't built it up through knowledge. So I think this, like, I'm not saying this is a raya for the Rambam, but like it reads really well into the Rambam that your soul is the amount. Your olam haba is the amount of chochmah that your soul acquires, and if you don't acquire it, you don't have any lasting outcome, and your hope of having something in the future is going to be cut off. And reverse. Yeah,
I was gonna actually talk about that, and your hope will not be cut off. Maybe it can mean that like your hope for the good that will come with that will not cut off.
Yeah, I think so. Okay. Yeah, I think that's a good way to read it. Yeah, David.
Okay, there's a thought to what you're saying, the emotional resonance. That's Yaakov's question first one we have there. Why is he committing the kid to honey? I think there is the kid relates to very differently when it's present on his tongue and how much that means to him versus like knowing that honey is a sweet thing. And this is a nice thing to then to know Chochmah. But to actually like have it very present, like this is what Chochmah is. I think emotional resonance.
Okay, yeah. So I definitely think that the drippings on the sweet on your palate has a separate emotional resonance than the eating of it. But I think maybe we can say that those are the two elements of the second pasuk, right? That we mentioned that there's an experience of Chochmah and then there's an actual benefit of Chochmah. The mashal of the drippings on the tongue is a closer parallel or closer mashal or whatever, because the experience of engaging in Chochmah is pleasant. But then unlike honey, where consumption can lead to sickness, then Chochmah consumption does not lead to sickness, you know?
It is interesting that he's saying and. Like there are two separate, it's almost like there are two separate points that Mashal is trying to convey here. Yeah. Like maybe
I have an idea. Yeah.
Maybe there's an idea. So maybe he said that the honeycomb on your palate. Yeah. It's almost like a teaser. Yeah. Is that how you think about it?
No, it's not what I'm thinking.
It's like you have a little bit on your palate. Yeah. But you're not like engaged in actually eating it. Mm-hmm. It's almost like, and it's really good. Yeah. And like this would go along with the fantasy aspect of it. Like, this is really good. Yeah. I really want more. Yeah. Right. I want more. Yeah. No,
I think like we were saying that that if you think about this chronologically, like in terms of how it would play out in real life, you do have the drippings and then that makes you want more. So I think that's good. It is weird that it's in that order. What I was gonna say is I think I can explain imatsasa. Maybe you can say that the whole idea here is not, there's ideas here about Chochmah in general, but I think maybe the point of the pasuk is about passing up opportunities for Chochmah when they present themselves. Okay, in other words, honey is something, again, I'm gonna go with this in my mind, I don't know if this is reality or fiction, that you stumble upon honey in the forest, okay, or something like that, This is not saying to go out and buy honey. And there are, mashal where Shlomo tells you to go out and buy Chochmah. So this is, you find a honeycomb. If you found a honeycomb in the forest, you're not going to pass it up because it is really good, okay? So too, kal v'chomer with Chochmah, don't pass it up because it is a pleasurable experience. And unlike honey, it's going to have a lasting outcome. And I think that this addresses, I don't know, I'll just speak for myself. I don't know how many people have this. There's definitely times when like an opportunity for Chochmah presents itself and you're like, no, I'm good, thanks. But like every single opportunity for Chochmah is something that is enjoyable to the highest extent, and it actually like augments your soul and gives you a lasting outcome. And it's an investment, So like you have to be an idiot to pass up Chochmah, just like you're an idiot if you pass up honey. It's just do you want a purely pleasurable experience that like there's no such thing as like too much of? If a person says no, then like it's just like what are you thinking? So I think the imatsasa is critical for telling us what the purpose of the advice is. This is not just a generic thing about the good of Chochmah, even though it does imply that. That's the scenario that is addressed.
So why the son versus like an adult or
right? So also
like why not? It seems like money would be a great hook for everyone too.
But money is not pleasurable in the
point here.
Yeah. So money is not pleasurable. It's not a pleasurable experience. Getting the money. I mean, I know. Like when the dollar sign is ditching on your eyes, but that's not. It's not like. It's not. I think it's using sensory pleasure for a reason, because it's trying to say that the experience of consuming the Chochmah is an enjoyable like activity, The sun thing, you could give two answers at least. One is that this is continuing the whole chain of advice to the sun, so that we don't need to explain it about this pasuk uniquely. The other is the son doesn't have experience with Chochmah in the same way that an adult does, so like you need to command him to do this, and in order to like initiate him into that, and then once he at a certain point he's going to have so much experience with Chochmah theoretically that he won't need it, even though I just said that like we pass up opportunities for Chochmah all the time. Yeah,
I would also add in terms of like your point about the Metzudas Tzion, maybe like that's like the main point of the pasuk.
Yeah,
right, like it is a little it would seem like a little like strange that like why would you like why wouldn't anyone go for Chochmah?
Yeah,
but like I think like that to me seems a little obvious, like why wouldn't you go for Chochmah versus like if you end up having an opportunity for it and you pass it up, like most people like would probably do that first.
You would pass up Chochmah. Yeah, right. Your money thing reminds me of a thought experiment. So I would actually, if I were like fantastically rich, I would actually do this experiment just to see what would happen to make it not a thought experiment. But I fantasize this about this a lot. Okay, imagine the following scenario. Okay, one day, the four of you come to Mishlei. Okay, this is not going to work for Zoom people, right? And I give each of you $100 bill. Okay, and you're like, wow, and then inevitably everyone else hears about it. Okay. And let's say the next day goes by and I don't do it. And the next day goes by, and then randomly one other day, I give you each another $100 bill. At what point would people be incentivized to actually come in hopes of getting $100 bill? If this was a thing, But the reality is that that's what Chochmah is all the time, and you get it all the time. Like you get Chochmah, you get the benefit all the time, And I know that's a different mashal than the honey, but like, it just, the thought experiment is just like, I don't know.
But my honey costs it.
That's true. Yeah, Yoshua?
Yeah, in terms of like chinuch, for kids also, like Chochmah is not something that's sweet or nice necessarily. And by having it like in this framework that it's not only sweet and tasty for your soul, that it's also going to last. Because like there's this fear with the honey that like when they find it, that they're like their taste is not going to be like satisfied and they're going to run out of honey or whatever.
Yeah.
So having it to be like, oh, this is also sweet and it's going to last.
Okay, so that's actually good. So there's now we have two interpretations of yesh achris. I was learning yesh achris to your soul. Yeshua was learning yesh achris to the Chochmah. Okay, so if you say it's to your soul, then it pairs with tikvaska lo tikares, which is your soul will have a lasting reality and your hope for the good will not be cut off. I think Yeshua fits in better with the way that the pasuk is broken up, which is that if you find the Chochmah just like you find the honey, then the Chochmah will last. It's like an everlasting gobstopper, to use a Willy Wonka analogy, right? Is that it's the candy that you suck on and it never goes away, it lasts forever, so I think that actually reads better into the pasuk. And also, according to the way I was interpreting it before, there is a little bit of a redundancy of yesh achris and tikvas lo tikares. It's not intrinsically redundant because yesh achris is the good and lo tikares is the bad. But according to Yeshua, there's no redundancy at all because it's saying that the Chochmah itself will last, and as a bonus, your soul won't get cut off. Okay. So I feel like we have a good interpretation here, which is probably going to be said by several of the Mefarshim. So I'm going to be, in this case, usually I'm not so confident. In this case, I'm going to be surprised if there's like, if we don't see this like in multiple Mefarshim here. Let's see what they say. Let's start with Metzudas Tzion. Probably at the bottom of the previous one. Yeah. Echol, Kishim Shema'achal Davash tofu, just as as honey is good food, ukshim shetasim tipin midavar matok al chikacha, and just like you place drips or drops from something sweet on your palate. Suspense. Kain de'e kamochein, so too da chochmah lasakin es nafshecha. You should know chochmah to perfect your soul. Im matzasa osa, if you find it, v'yesh lecha lev masiv, and you have a mind that is able to apprehend. So that's funny that he says im matzasa means if you're able to find it and apprehend it. I mean, you would think that that's implied.
Well, I think that there is like, you can say like be present in like a shiur, present discussion. But if you're not there, if you're not like on board trying to actively get it, then
that's a good point. Right. That's a good point. Is that that there are, just because there is objectively chochmah here does not mean that you can access it. And what matters is that you can actually access it.
There's like the active, like the knei chochmah, like an actively getting it. You can't just sit back. It's not gonna.
Yeah. Correct. V'yesh achris rotelamar v'tova hi min hadvash. It's better than honey. Ki bazeh yesh achris tov. Because with this there is a lasting outcome. So that's how I wanted to read it, not how you should want to read it. V'hadvash lifamim yazik v'akrona. But honey can sometimes harm you in the end. Okay, fine. That's what we said. V'tikvasacha hagumul she'ata makave ba'avura. The reward that you hope for from it. Hine lo tikaris. That hope will not be cut off because it's certainly going to come. We haven't encountered that in Metzudas in a long time. That's one of his catchphrases, and it repeats the idea in different words. Okay, I think that's referring to the probably the drips on the tongue. Okay, so that I feel like that's not anything new. That's confirming what we said. Let's look at the Meiri, if we can find it. And there's Achres. Meiri says.
Just the heading from the.
Thanks. Okay. Sorry, it just takes longer to scroll. Hey, Ara Belimud Chochmah. Okay, this is an insight into learning Chochmah. Klomar, meaning to say, just as honey, the eating of honey and the dripping of the honeycomb is pleasant because of its great sweetness. That's interesting. So too, it will be sweet to your soul to toil in Chochmah. That's very interesting. So he's going with he's explaining what question is he answering? Why does he say toil? What forced him to say that? As opposed to the Chochmah itself. He's saying the toil for Chochmah.
Can you say one more time? I'm not following.
That just as the eating of honey and its dripping is pleasant to you because of the sweetness, so too the toil for Chochmah is sweet to your soul. Now, that's not how we were saying it. We were saying the Chochmah itself is sweet to your soul. So why is he saying the toil? Yeah?
Maybe because he doesn't say like Cain Chochmah. He says Cain De'ei Chochmah.
Yeah. So I think I'm saying the same thing, but I think he's trying to explain the mashal of echol dvash, right? The question was, why do you need to be told to eat honey? Right? If I just put honey in front of you, you'll just eat it, because he's trying to emphasize the process of like getting into your body is pleasurable, and so he's not learning. See, we were learning the tzivui as you need to be told to do this because you have resistances to it or because you haven't experienced it. Here he's saying it's part of the actual mashal. It's saying the process of getting it. Umilas de'ei tzivui min hakal b'tosefes hey v'haya roy lihios ha'ayin kamutza u'kamohu v'ekra lecha yidashne sela. Okay, fine. All right, that's just grammatical. Ki mitzasa klomar im yidata vadai shematzasa. Because meaning if you know it, definitely you have found it. I don't know what he's getting at. Yishlecha achris v'tikvas l'tiperes. Yeah, Yaakov.
Finland says he's a lot more on this in a later posting.
Oh, okay. All right, maybe that's what we'll do tomorrow. Let's read what he says in the Yesh Mefarshim. Okay, so some say that honey is referring to the higher levels of Chochmah. So I assume in his lingo that means like metaphysics. Yeah, this is metaphysics. Rambam says that honey and milk under your tongue is mashal for the ideas that you should conceal. That's like I say Brachus Mas Merkava. It's known that milk is sustenance for children because of its fineness and softness. Okay, I don't know what the proper liquid adjectives here are. V'dima behem hamitzvos hamaisios shehem al harov mazon nefashos hahamon. So it's comparing the mitzvos in action, which on the whole, in general, are mazon for the souls of the masses. But dvash hu amatok sheb'mazonos. Honey is the sweetest of the foods. Asher hanar lo yuchal l'sovlo, which the youth cannot tolerate. Gam hagadol eno yachol la'achlo harbe, and even a gadol can't eat a lot of it. Oh, remember he says hanar lo yachol l'sovlo. Anyone? Okay, you're not supposed to give honey to a 1-year-old, right? That's a thing. I never understood why, right? But I think it's like damaging to their health. So I think when he says nar here, he might mean like a kid, not like a Mishlei youth, right? So he's saying he can't take it, and that's why he says in the gadol, because when he's talking about the kids early with the milk, I mean, you don't like milk is assuming like being breastfed, so we're talking about like a young kid. Even an older person can't eat a lot of it. And if he eats a lot of it, it'll make him throw up. This is the comparison to true ideas in the higher levels of Chochmah, which are apprehended by individuals. And he promises them the end, or lasting end, and the hope. Let's just read this and then we'll go back to this tomorrow. Some say that just as you will choose for yourself the foods which are the sweetest for your body, so too you should choose from the Chochmos that which is sweetest to your soul. That's the Chochmah that will bring you to fear of God, and not to breaking down and confusion. Okay, I would like tomorrow to go back and get what the subtle differences are in these three interpretations here, and then see what else we can find, if we find it. Okay, good idea though. We got good ideas.
All right, thank you.
Yep, thanks.
Bye.
Thank you.